Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Welcome all guys!
Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday to you all. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. Another fun day in store for you. And we're going to have a lot of fun today. We always have fun on this show, right? You all love me. We all have fun here. Joining me in studio, besides my co-host, J.D. Sharp, of course, Chris Winn, who joins us every single Monday to bring his point of view, so I'm not ganged against in studio when Ron Futrell usually comes in here. But we're going to have some fun, like I said. I'm also, it is Championship Monday, right? The NCAA Championship game tonight, Virginia, Texas Tech. I will explain to everybody why I say Virginia was not even deserving of being in this game tonight against Auburn. I'll explain that coming up in hour number 2. We will talk some hoops. Mr. Chris Winn, how you doing, my man? Thanks for coming in.
Outstanding, Brian. It's Lobster Shapiro live in studio. A little color going on, brother.
Yeah, I played a little golf today with a friend of mine, JT the Brick, who's on another station and does a wonderful job. He's a good friend, and I forgot to put the suntan lotion on. So, yeah, I am looking a little bit like a lobster today, but that's all right. I want to start with the news of the day. Big news, of course, coming out, and we're going to discuss separation of families. Yep, that's right. Mr. Donald Trump once owned an executive order that stopped this policy, but apparently President Trump thinks that the original policy, which was started by Jeff Sessions, taking individual families between legal ports of entry, prosecuting them, including asylum seekers and undocumented families, is okay. The president also wants to expand and make this more of a widespread policy, expanding family separation to include those who enter legally. And he also thinks that separating families will be a very good deterrent. Now, keep in mind, Secretary Nielsen, who was let go, told Trump that this was not possible, according to inside sources. Well, guess what? Nielsen is gone. Stephen Miller is now the lone survivor, okay? This is what people are calling a new systematic purge at Homeland Security. The Secret Service director ousted the day after Secretary Nielsen's departure. And again, Nielsen told Donald Trump, according to sources, that this policy not possible in separating these families. Apparently, that's what Donald Trump wants. He thinks that this is a good deterrent. So I ask all of you out there, do you think this is a good deterrent? Do you think this is what this country was made of? That asylum seekers and even people that were families that were legally brought into this country, they should expand separating these families and prosecuting these people, separating parents from their children, expanding on this policy. Is this the right deterrent? Is this what America should be? We're not talking about felons. We're not talking about criminals. We're not talking about bad people, regardless of what Stephen Miller and some people on the right will like to lead you to believe, that many of these people are horrible people. What Donald Trump said a couple years ago, these people crossing the border, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. That's not factually accurate. It is the constant demonizing of illegals coming into this country, and this is just another prime example of what we're facing as a country and the people who put the policies in place, including the President of the United States and Stephen Miller. And I believe it to be wrong. I believe it to be unjust. I believe it to be un-American. And I don't want to see more images of these kids separated from their parents. And don't give me this nonsense and don't call in and don't say, well, Barack Obama did the same thing. What about the Clintons? No, we're not talking about Barack Obama. We're not talking about the Clintons. We're talking about the president right now. Last I checked, that is Donald Trump. Or maybe Stephen Miller. Maybe he's the president. I don't know. Maybe he's the only one. I don't know. But that's my take on this. We'll take some phone calls on this. This separation of families. Let me give out the number, and then I want to get Chris Winn's take on it, and I want to get my co-host J.D. Sharp's take on it. The number to call in, 257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. And by the way, why doesn't Steve Miller become the secretary? Maybe he's just a coward. He just wants to hide behind this administration. Why doesn't he take Nielsen's place? Why doesn't he speak to Congress about these policies that he wants to put in place? Again, the number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Gentlemen, Am I wrong on this?
You're not wrong, but I want to add on to this as well and ask a question for those out there and for both you, Brian and JD. Okay, why did we originally have the creation of the Department for Homeland Security?
JD?
You guys know why you had it?
You tell me.
It's called 9/11, okay? 9/11 is the reason why the department exists, okay, for the past 17-plus years. The reason the department is in place is to protect against terrorism, whether it's domestic terrorism, whether it's international terrorism, regardless. Somehow, that department has morphed into something with the border now, where we're dealing with immigration. We're not talking about terrorism. We're dealing with immigration, whether it's illegal immigration or projected legal immigration, right? We're talking about points of entry. We're talking about families. You just said it, Shap. We're not talking about criminals necessarily, although there are a small percentage of people that have the possibility of being MS-13 or having some type of negative impact on the country. Right. But for the most part, they're families. We're talking about seeking an asylum. And for some reason, that is beyond me. The Department of Homeland Security has been engulfed with the southern border of this country and the northern border of Mexico. And it's just not right, okay? And you posed the question, and we're going to get some phone calls on it. What is the legacy of Kirstjen Nielsen, who's the director of Homeland Security for the last 2 years?
Not much.
The legacy, right off the top of my head, it's just absolutely atrocious.
Yep,
that's what legacy is.
JD, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't have a lot of thoughts on this, Brian. I'm very, very focused on this up-and-coming basketball game.
Okay.
This national championship basketball game.
Thank you for adding to this. Thank you for adding to this segment. I appreciate it.
Not a lot of times you get to see a little Texas Tech UVA go at it. Okay?
Texas Tech.
We're not going to do 2 hours on a basketball game. All right, I'll give out the number 257-5396 702-257-5396. Jeff, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Good.
What's up, Jeff?
I think it's ironic. About maybe 2.5 weeks ago, you were ranting about the same subject, the immigration and the southern border situation. You were adamant that this was not a crisis or whatever.
I don't think it's an emergency. No.
Well, this last week, Jay Johnson, who is Obama's guy.
You're bringing up Obama. Okay. Go ahead.
And he's not a partisan, or at least. He's not one of Trump's guys. He's from a prior administration, and he agrees that there's a crisis at the border.
So you have one person that was in the Obama administration that says there's a crisis at the border. So should we assume that there's a crisis at the border because one person or one Democrat agrees? What's your point?
Well, it's not just that. I mean,
you brought it up. Give me something else.
I know, but I think that if you don't have Trump derangement syndrome,
okay, stop it.
That's a horrendous term, bro. Trump derangement syndrome. All that is people that disagree with the president, right? Is that what you're saying?
I actually think it's quite the acronym.
It's a
TDS.
Okay, Jeff. You guys are like so far overboard about your hate for Trump.
Okay, why am I overboard?
Because I either don't
Jeff,
like him or
why am I
like
overboard?
him.
Because I disagree with this policy. I'm overboard. What the hell are you talking about? Make your point.
It's not just policy stuff. You sit there and you'll do whole shows.
Give me specific. Be specific.
The fact that he said grab him by the you-know-what.
So that's okay?
You're good with that?
Oh,
you have no
so
problem
that's
with it,
okay
right?
to talk like that? What's wrong with you?
By the five-letter word.
Get off track on that and don't talk about the important things. There is clearly
we disagree with him on important things, too. It's not just little things like that.
Brian just threw his pen.
Our southern
That's how
border
angry
is
he is.
overwhelmed. The resources we have there to deal with these asylum seekers is being overwhelmed. And none of the Democrats want to deal with that or address that. They're just sticking.
I think you have. Okay, here's what I think. I think you have immigration derangement syndrome.
Yes.
That's what I think you have, Jeff.
Ads.
You have immigration derangement syndrome. What do you think about that? Every single time you call in, you want to agree with Trump.
I think your border take didn't age too well 2 weeks ago.
And I think your Donald Trump knee pads have aged very well. That's what I think. What do you think about that, Jeff? Take off your Donald Trump knee pads and have a nice day. What do you think about that? Goodbye.
Unless they're camouflage, that's fine.
Camouflage.
And what does he mean by age? Didn't Donald Trump declare a state of national emergency 3 weeks ago?
Exactly.
He was the one that declared a state of emergency, not the Democrats or anybody that disagrees with Trump.
Jeff is the guy that suffers from derangement. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Jeff, don't hate the Vegas Take. You have Vegas Take derangement syndrome. Let's go to Mike. Mike, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's up?
Doing okay.
After listening to the last caller, I think you guys are just swinging the opposite way. I think you're buying into the whole there's no crisis. For people who live down here, it's crazy. I mean, 100,000 people are coming over the border. 100,000 people. Now, I think if you think it's not a crisis, I think you should do your radio show from El Paso, right on the border, or from the Tijuana border.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys should do it with no security. Just go out there at night, turn some lights on, and have your radio
Here's
show.
what I think you should do, Mike. What do you do for work?
I'd rather not say.
Okay, well, that's fine. You would rather not say. You know what? Here's what I think you should do. I think you should go to the border, and I think you should go into these cages and meet some of these kids that don't have parents. I think you should go there, and I think you should walk around there. Maybe you should do a radio show from one of these cages. What do you think about that?
I will tell you what I think about that.
Please do.
I think that when parents break the law, just like an American citizen breaks the law, a husband and wife breaks the law, do they let the child go to jail with them? Do they give them a free pass because they have a child? That is a free pass. We have a loophole in our immigration.
So tell me what we should do then, Mike. If you have a parent, hypothetically, that his or her life is threatened and their children's life is threatened, they don't have the means to come into this country legally, and they have no other choice but to seek asylum, you're okay with separating those parents from those children. You have absolutely, positively nothing wrong with that. And what you can say is what Donald Trump says. Sorry, this country is full. Turn around and go back home. Mike, you're okay with that?
Well, I'll tell you, here's a good answer for you, and I hope a lot of the listeners understand this. These people came from South America. They could have sought asylum in Mexico. No,
that is 100% not true. There are many. No, you are wrong. There are many circumstances where they don't have that option to make. So you are factually inaccurate, Mike. With all due respect, I appreciate your opinion. We are going to agree to disagree.
And I want to make a quick point on Mike's statement as far as the crisis. Look, I think Americans, we understand that there is a humanitarian crisis / issue, whatever you want to call it, the border. Given that we don't have the resources from a judicial standpoint, and from an administration standpoint, to process all of these asylum seekers, in the last couple of weeks here, without question. But let's make no mistake about it, okay, out there? This is not some type of national security crisis, which is what the narrative of the White House wants to put out. They want to put out, okay, that we are getting stormed at the border right now, and that most of the people that are charging over the Mexico-United States border are criminals and coming into this country and going to and in some way are going to negatively impact this nation. And that is 100% not true.
Let me give out the number again, 257-5396. Hold on, let me just give out the number. 257-5396, the number to call. Again, 257-5396. JD, go ahead.
I wanted to lighten up the mood a little bit. I wanted to thank Chris Davis, who plays for the Orioles, for going 0 for 48 in the last 16 games, including 0-25 to start the season. Congratulations, Chris Davis.
I'm not sure what that has to do with immigration.
He just broke a record for futility.
Okay. I'm not sure what that has to do with immigration.
He's getting paid a lot of dough, too, isn't he?
He's getting paid $18 million a year.
Yeah, not bad.
257-5396, the number to call. Let's
Pretty much what Shat makes a year.
Kelly. Kelly, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, Kelly.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, as usual, we are disagreeing on a few things here.
Are we batting down the hatches here in Vegas, Kelly? We should be batting down the hatches because all these, criminal illegals about to storm the border coming towards us?
Well, let me just say my piece, and then you guys can shoot me out.
Of course.
Me as having Trump knee pads and all this other stuff.
I didn't say that about you. I said that about the other caller. I've never said that about you. I never said you were wearing Donald Trump knee pads.
I will say one thing.
I
Brian
would
is actually
if
radioactive
I could find
pink
them
today.
on eBay.
If you can find them on eBay.
Anyway.
I wonder how much those would go for.
Probably about $20.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, there's even Obama's former, Homeland Security chief,
Jay Johnson,
even said today that we're at levels now he's never even fathomed. He says there's definitely a problem.
And I've heard Republicans on the other side say the opposite. So what's your point?
Well, my point is, first off, we as a country have a right to not just let people in. I mean, the thing is everyone's got the code word. I'm here for asylum. you can't tell me that, the 1 million people that are expected to, come into our country this year, every single one of them is seeking asylum. Every one of them's life has been threatened. They've all been threatened. And now when you
didn't say all of them, never said all of them, but there are certainly some of them that are trying to seek asylum that are in serious danger.
Which is right, and that's an extremely small percentage. Okay. Not all, but they all know the code word. When they get to the border, they're like,
can I ask you a question, Kelly? Would you also agree that there's an extremely, as you say, extremely small percentage of illegals that are felons, that are bad people? Can you admit that as well, since we want to talk about small percentages?
No, I can. Okay, out of, let's say, 1 million people that cross the border, I have no doubt about probably at least 10,000 of them are probably, MS-13 gang members, and
we're just guessing.
They estimate 1 million people are going to come across the border. That doesn't include the people
all I was trying to do is I was trying to get you to use that same phrase and be factual, which you did not use. All I wanted to hear you say as a Trump supporter is, you're right, Brian. The majority of people coming into this country illegally are good people. I rarely hear a Trump supporter.
Good people.
That's not true.
Law.
Oh, stop it! Just because you're facing, if you're facing difficulties,
someone's got a machete back in your home country, ready to chop your family up, and you're trying to come to the United States. I mean, come on. Hey, see, this is the
difficulty. Hold on. Facing difficulty, living in a place that you don't want to live in anymore, isn't doesn't qualify
this
you
isn't,
as
excuse me, this
under
isn't, excuse
asylum.
me, this isn't somebody living in North Vegas that doesn't like the crime. Hey, I think I'm going to move to Summerlin. You're making it that simple, Kelly, and I'm sorry. With all due respect, I always appreciate it when you call in, Kelly, but I could not disagree with you more, but that's okay. I'll take your calls anyway.
Hey, thank you, Kelly.
257-5396, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I'm going to assume Bob is next. Bob, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hi, Bob.
What up? How you doing, boys?
Good. What's on your mind?
Very well.
I got my Trump knee pads from Hannity.com.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're supporting Sean Hannity. Yes.
Hey, here's to all the Republicans and everybody. How about what would Jesus do? There is no borders. How about that? How about let's all be people and have love?
Well, I never said that there shouldn't be borders, and I certainly wouldn't make policy over what Jesus.
Hey, Bob.
I mean, I don't know.
What's your favorite Las Vegas dispensary?
Why should we even have borders? It sounds like you would agree with me, from what you're...
Didn't say we shouldn't have borders, Bob, with all due respect.
So, could I ask a question then?
Yes.
How many, if they documented that 1 million came this year, is there like a certain number of million that you would approve of to where you would say no more?
Well, I think it's dependent upon a lot of things. First of all, it's dependent. Go ahead, Chris. You want to respond?
It's a process. Legal immigration is a process. This nation. An issue I had with Kelly on her call, because she started her call by saying something along the lines of they want to just let everybody in. That's not our policy here in the United States. Okay, we go through it. It's a specific structure and procedure as to how people can get into this country legally, or if they're illegal at the time, they are either held. At this point, I think it's either in Mexico or in the United States, and there's certain standards.
What bar did he find you at? Don't you understand that there's only so many units that can fit?
What are you talking about? Units? You do understand this is a nation of multi millions of people, and there's still plenty of room.
First of all, I didn't find
many more.
First of all, I didn't find.
I don't understand what your point is.
First of all, I didn't find Chris at a bar. He's been doing radio for 20 years, and I can tell you right now, based on the way you talk on the radio and based he does, his IQ is about twice as much as yours. What do you think about that? Let's go to Craig. Craig, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you? Craig, can you hear me? Craig, thank you for calling in. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I would definitely agree that the vast majority of people crossing the border illegally are people just trying, want a better life and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But for you to say that there's no national crisis,
I don't think there's an emergency. No.
I guess I'm wondering what you would say to all the families that have had loved ones killed by illegal immigrants, and also...
Okay, I'll answer that. Hold on, let me answer that question. I would say to all the families who have lost loved ones that it is a horrible, horrendous tragedy. I wish it never happened, and in a perfect world, I wish everybody would come into this country legally. But we haven't abolished alcohol, and you know how many people die from DUIs every day? It's funny, though. I don't hear any politicians talking about, let's abolish alcohol. It's a horrible tragedy, and any person who dies, whether it's an illegal or illegal, is a tragedy. Yes. So that's what I would say to the families.
Okay. I guess I had one other question. What would you be saying if one of your loved ones died at the hands of an illegal alien?
I would say that
you wouldn't be talking about alcohol, and you wouldn't be talking about anything. I'm
going to answer the question. I'm going to answer the question. And no, you are 100% wrong. Here's the way I would answer that. Just if that person was legal, I would say I hope that bastard spends the rest of his or her life behind bars and pays the price. That's what I would say. I wouldn't use Americans or people that have died at the hands of illegals as a political ploy. That's not something that I would do. People also die in war. Does that mean we should stop going to war if we have to? I'm sorry, but I completely disagree with you. That's the way I would answer that question, and I'm being as honest as possible. Tim, you're next. Thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, Tim.
Do you gentlemen agree that we're a nation of laws?
I know where you're going with this. You, in a perfect world.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You're big about contradicting other people. Answer the question.
Okay, well, what's your question?
It was simple. What are you? You can't. You don't understand English?
No, I don't, Tim. Why don't you? I'll tell you what. You're the host.
Hey, so Tim, let's play the game. Tim.
Very simple question. You guys are really flippant, but you can't answer any questions. Why is that?
Okay, let's play your game, Tim. Okay.
Go ahead. Ask the question.
Tim, what if I say yes? We are a nation of laws. What if I say that? Now, what are you going to say?
Either agree with it or you don't.
He just answered your question.
I just said we are a nation of laws. Yes, we are.
Are you deaf? Are you deaf? Can't you hear?
That those laws should be respected and enforced?
Yes, and absolutely, and they are. And you know what else should be respected?
So do you agree with sanctuary cities?
Myself, personally, I don't agree with them, no. But you're trying to tie this all in. Tim, I understand the point you're trying to make, but let me throw this at you. Okay.
And you guys seem to think, well, that's fine, because we'll just pick and choose.
Hey, Tim, can I ask you a question?
So, Tim, let me ask you something.
Mindset.
Why don't you stop talking and let us respond to you?
Can we respond to you real quick?
Goodbye, Tim. Goodbye, Tim. You don't know how to listen. Goodbye.
If you're going to call into the station, all right, you got to give us a chance to respond.
Hey, Tim,
okay?
That was
I know you want to make a run
call.
there. It was premium because you went on a run.
That was a really good call.
And he was rolling right through. But you got to give us a chance to respond to you.
I don't have a huge problem with. I mean, I do think there's definitely some violence that takes place, and a lot of it is because of the borders. And there's a lot of illegal immigrants who do some terrible things. Yeah. My biggest issue is the resources used up, the drugs that come in, and the gangs. Those are my biggest. The government resources. What I'm talking about. The fentanyl crisis is the other thing, and like the MS-13 and those types of gangs. That's probably my biggest issue with illegal immigration. And I would like to know who is in this country. And if I go to a different country, if I go to Germany or to even Argentina, I'm required to have a passport. I'm required, and they're required to know who I am when I'm coming to their country. And why would the same principle not be applied to the United States? I don't understand that.
I don't understand, Tim. This is my impersonation of Tim. Do you guys not understand English? Do you guys not understand what I'm talking about? Why don't you learn to use your ears and listen once in a while too, Tim? You don't call into the show and you don't go on a rant for 3 minutes. Okay, it's not your show; it's our show.
By the way, the Texas Tech Virginia game is 2-2.
Oh, wonderful!
4 minutes in.
Why wouldn't it be?
257.
There's going to be buckets all over the place in this game.
We do have a lot of callers. Let's get to some callers. 257-5396. Let's go to Rick. Rick, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Rick?
Hey, so, I mean, when listening to you guys on the radio and everything, I get you guys' point. And being a Vegas native, I see how these issues affect the city and everything. And I think way too many people are taking an emotional standpoint on one side, whether you're on the conservative or the Democrat side or whatever. And I truly, truly believe that it comes down to what it is we're being screwed over by the government on these issues. Because when you look at how the laws are written, the border issue is getting crushed on one side. And when the illegals are coming through, the laws are written so lax that they're able to walk through. And then on the other, the laws are written so the politicians or the people who are trying to do a hard job down there, keeping the country safe, they're squashed in not being able to do.
It's a
their job.
difficult, you're right. It is a very complex and it is a difficult situation. And for the record, I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. I am for border security. I wish everybody would come to this country legally. Unfortunately, many of these people do not have the means to do so. And we have to come up with a system that works. We, Republicans and Democrats, have to come up with a humane system that allows good people to come into the, understanding that some of these people don't have the means. We only have a few more minutes left, so I appreciate the call. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. And let's move on to the next caller. Let's go to Rick. George. George, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you, George? George, can you hear us?
Now I can.
Thank you, George. What's on your mind? I only got about a minute, so shoot.
Okay.
Hi, George.
Hey, you kind of took my thunder with Tim and everything else. I was just going to ask a question. I mean, in your mind and in your thoughts, I mean, we're a country. We have borders. We have sovereign borders. We're supposed to be able to allow, permit, however you want to term it, who can come in and who cannot.
We do, don't we?
Right?
We do that. Isn't that the case?
I don't know, because we have Border Patrol picking up people, apprehending them, letting them go in the communities a short time later, and in the community they're dropping these people off anywhere and say, hey, by the way, you have a court date on this date. Do you think these people are going to show up?
Go ahead, Chris, respond to that.
There's circumstances where they do not show up, but obviously, for the most part, they do. Look, I understand there are issues at the border, but let's not pretend, okay, that there is not some type of policy. Let's not pretend that we don't have a process when it comes to immigration. There is a border. There are points down on the southern border where there is a wall where you can't get across, where there's natural barriers, where there's terrain. I mean, there's this there's this fantasy out there that there's somehow just open up and Democrats just want to let everybody in and Republicans want to take care of things.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Chris Winn in studio with J.D. Sharp, and we'll take your phone calls at 257-5396. Ron, Brian, Fred, we're coming to you guys next. 257-5396. Take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Winn in studio talking about separation of families. Donald Trump, at least what he's trying to do, is expand on this. It doesn't matter whether you came to this country legally or not. If you are undocumented family in this country, okay, he is going to separate families, and not a pretty sight. And we all know that what he said in his remarks last week, where he said we don't have enough room in this country. He wasn't specifically talking about these. What, is that funny?
Well, it is funny. Yeah,
well,
absolutely. The reaction from most Americans,
very,
Brian,
very inaccurate.
was hilarity.
So what if you're pregnant? We don't have enough room for you if you're in this country already? I don't really understand what that means, but we'll take some calls on that. 702-257-5396. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Let's go to Ron, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Ron, how are you?
Hey, it's my favorite Ron. Hey, Ron, what's up? Ron, it's Ron.
Hold on. Ron, hold on. Just so you're aware.
Ron, it's not Tuesday, Ron.
Yeah. My name isn't Ron. Just so let's just be clear. Do you know what my name is?
I thought it was Ron.
What's your second guess, Dave? Or Jim? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. No.
Mike, what's his name?
No, do you know? Can you name any of the three people that are in studio right now, Ron? I'll give you a prize.
What day is it?
Actually, no, but what you were talking about is very interesting.
All right, I agree with that, Ron. I'm just giving you a hard time, buddy. You know that. Okay, so my name is Brian Shapiro. A lot of people call me a lot of other names, but you can call me whatever you want. My name is Brian. We've got Chris Winn in studio, and my co-host is J.D. Sharp. You could call him Mr. Sharp. So Ron Futrell is going to be on our show tomorrow. I think that's who you're referring to because Ron fills in for us once in a while, and he's a great guy. Okay, Ron,
Why do you guys sound so much alike? Wow. Okay.
I mean, we're on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to politics. But all right, Ron, I was just giving you a hard time, my friend. What's on your mind?
Okay. What you guys talk about is really interesting, and I am the opposite, but I have a lot of respect for you guys because
thank you.
There was a few times when I called in, I learned a few things. I am a Trump supporter, but here I have a question because. You did teach me a few things, and I do disagree with some of his policies. But, I we do have a problem with our own strains, like our flus and different kinds of viruses and stuff like that. And and we're still having trouble catching up with our own. Now, wouldn't that be a little
Well, hold on. Let me stop you right there, and let me give you my opinion on that. Okay, as far as diseases go, I have no doubt, beyond the shadow of a doubt, I believe cancer could be cured. I believe AIDS can be cured. I believe diabetes could be cured. The reason why is because of money, okay? To me, let's just start right there. There are greedy people on this planet, many of them whom could, look, if we can recreate a human being, okay, and identify then we can recreate a pancreas and cure cancer. Look what happened to Magic Johnson years ago. He seems to be a very healthy individual. Think of all the people that have died from the HIV virus since Magic Johnson, contracted that.
You kind of sound like Roy Masters. Right?
I remember.
Well, yeah, I mean, so that's my point on disease. So I don't think that's a factor here.
Okay. Well, that's a fair answer. I was just I needed a little knowledge on it because I guess we say that we're behind in our strains, and we can't figure out every flu that we're still fighting. And like you said, it could be because of the money and greedy people. That's possible.
Chris, go ahead.
So that was my question, though. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll throw it at you, Ron, real quick. There's a lot of reasons why the Trump administration has for their, very harsh and very direct policies when it comes to the border and when it comes to immigration. This has not been something that's been talked about, though. The whole issue as far as possible diseases or illnesses coming in this country hasn't really been a talking point of theirs, right? When you hear either President Trump or Secretary Nielsen, who's now no longer there, or anybody of any significance talk about this, that's not an issue that really comes to the forefront when we're talking about border security.
Mm-hmm. Ron, I appreciate the call. Good to hear from you. And I'll make sure that you told Ron that you said hello. 257-5396 is the number to call, 702-257-5396, talking about border security, separation of families, the fact that I believe Stephen Miller seems to be at the forefront of this. And, of course, Secretary Nielsen is gone, and just somebody else in the Trump administration that has left the building in the White House. 257-5396. Let's go to Fred. Fred, thanks for calling in. How are you, Fred?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I hate judging people, but I see some of your callers are full of hate.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the reality of these people trying to come to this country.
Right.
They are dying. They want to work. They want to stay in the country.
Yep. I agree.
They have no money for food.
Right.
Kids working on the fields, they get injured, right? So you give them a shot of penicillin, whatever, done.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Them 2-3 days to find the nearest clinic, and they get their arms amputated.
Right.
A mother goes crazy because their kids go without milk or food or nothing for almost a week.
Right.
She wants to kill herself, and they do commit suicide.
Mm-hmm. Listen, Fred.
El Salvador.
Fred, I think you make a very valid point.
We'll give work to thousands of people.
Fred, I think you make a couple really valid points.
Empathy. There is no empathy.
No, I agree. I think you have to. It's very difficult to put yourself in their shoes.
If there was oil in El Salvador, it'll be a different thing.
I agree, Fred. Fred, I completely agree with you, and good to hear from you. And it sounds like maybe you've been in that situation before, where maybe you had to struggle for food. I think people that feel that way, hey, I've been there before, guys. Or, talk to someone even that's an American that has had to live paycheck to paycheck, or maybe someone that couldn't afford food or water. Maybe someone that couldn't even get on food stamps. Talk to them. See what they think about some of these illegals coming into this country.
Isn't that the very essence, though, of this debate, Brian? We're talking about the Trump administration and people like Stephen Miller. What are they thought of? They're thought of as cold-hearted, right? They're thought of as coming at it from that perspective. Meanwhile, you have others here in this country, who are absolutely opposed to a lot of the policies that have been taking place here in the last 2 years. And the thought is that they are acting with compassion, right? That they want to approach this in a way where we're good-hearted, right? And we want to be looking out for these individuals. And that we don't conflate, illegal immigrants who are criminals with families that are trying to escape persecution or escape the possibility that they could be murdered in their home country.
Yes.
That is the entire essence of what's going on in this whole debate here.
And what our last caller that just said, empathy, what you just brought up. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Brian, you're next. Good to hear from you. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey, guys. Empathy has to be balanced with reality. There is no way America can take in the whole world and function.
Never said that.
You guys know that. I know that.
We know that.
That's not what you're saying, but that's what some people are saying. Yeah. And I have a challenge for anybody that really wants to find out about the caravans. There is a video on YouTube. It's called Fire in the Hole with Ami Horowitz, A-M-I Horowitz. The truth behind the caravan. He spent 10 days filming with a crew from where it starts down in El Salvador, Guatemala, and all the way to the Mexican border.
Yes.
Okay, very eye-opening. Most of the people coming at that time he did the video, which is a few months ago, were people wanting a job, not families, but there were families interspersed there. But they're being bussed from the southern border of Mexico to the northern border of Mexico by a group who is pushing open borders on a worldwide basis. They have porta potties set up at certain stops. They have water, they have food, they have medical care. All this stuff, these people would not make it if they were trouncing through the desert by themselves for 1,580 miles. It just wouldn't happen. And I have a question for you and Chris. How come this isn't happening in Costa Rica, which borders these three countries where the caravans are from? That is a tourist destination.
Chris, you want to address that?
Money to go to Costa Rica.
Go ahead, Chris.
Which is a few hundred miles away.
Well, I can't answer what's going on as far as other nations in South America and what their policies are and how they address their immigration issues. All I can do is I live in the United States and speak from our perspective. And Brian, you know this. We have a policy here. We have a structure. We have a way to handle this. It's not as if we're a nation and just waving everybody up and saying, you know what, just come on up here and you're all welcome and just roll right in.
Nobody's saying that.
That's not what we're about. And that's not what we're about.
No,
we have a structure.
Right.
There's something in place. It's not like these people who are coming in these caravans are just coming and storming over the border and just engulfing our communities. That's not what's happening. We have a process. We have a way that we handle it.
Sure.
Okay? And we day by day deal with it. Are there issues with it? Are there problems that we have in our immigration system? Without question. There are. All over the place.
We also make it
that's
very,
that's something that's that's dealt with in a political way, right?
We also make it very, very easy for immigrants, not illegal ones, but legal immigrants, to stay in the United States.
Well,
you're given 100.
You're saying because they release them, catch and release.
So I'm saying you're given 180 days to renew your visa after it expires. That's 6 months.
It is still extremely.
And if you don't renew your visa,
understood, but it's still very.
You can't apply for a visa for 3 years.
But it's still very difficult to become a citizen of the United States.
But is someone who comes to the United States?
Yes.
Their visa expires. They don't renew for 180 days. Are they a criminal? In my opinion, they are.
But not everybody has the opportunity to get a visa. I think I don't disagree with what you're saying, but you have to understand, JD, many of these families, especially their lives are threatened, their livelihood and their children, they don't have the ability, JD, to get a visa.
So how would creating a wall and having a very, very explicit process not make it that much easier for someone to get a visa?
I'm trying to understand. Say that again.
How would creating a wall and knowing who is in the country not make it easier to apply and to get a visa?
Of course, in a perfect scenario.
Not in a perfect scenario, in a standard scenario. If you know who is coming and part of the process is helping them apply for a visa, how would a wall not help that? That would absolutely help that.
Well, I think there's a lot of issues. A wall is one issue, but I think there are plenty of other issues as far as illegal immigration is concerned, and that's just one of them. And we've talked about that. Let's take a few more calls. Let's go to Carlos at 257-5396. Carlos, what's on your mind?
Hi, Carlos.
How come the Venezuelans aren't coming over in caravans? And allegedly they have a dictator, starving them out. And then these countries, El Salvador and all that. Why don't we regime change down there?
Venezuela is right there in the midst of a power struggle, right, between two people who are leaders. I believe we support the rebellion leader, right, here in the United States, And so that's kind of
the point. Where the bad guys, like El Salvador, allegedly they're bad guys, or El Salvador, Guatemala, and all these countries you guys are talking about. Why don't we go in there and pull the strings?
I think there's
for some reason.
I mean, I
sovereignty issues. You can't just come to countries and just start,
you can't
rolling around. And,
right. I mean, look, Carlos, I kind of understand where you're coming from. In a perfect world, I wish every evil dictator, we could assassinate every evil dictator.
Oh, without doubt, no doubt.
Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, I pray to God today, I hope they jump off a cliff. Unfortunately, that's just not going to happen, Carlos. Again, I understand where you're coming from. There's a lot of bad people in a lot of countries, and there are some bad, evil dictators out there in the world. Unfortunately, we can't start a war with every evil dictator. I appreciate the call, Carlos. Point well taken. Let's go to Marshall. Marshall, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Yes, sir. So, my point of view on this is that as a nation, we can try to live by our emotions, but that's going to destroy us. We got to take care of ourselves before we can take care of the rest of the world. And it's just that simple. Our needs, immigration-wise, are tied directly to the demands of labor. And with the revolution that's happening in automation right now, there will be a 30% reduction of the workforce. That's what I'm currently involved in now. So when we want a legal process, but even legal immigration should have limits on it. And it should be used not only for charity, but it should be used to fulfill the needs of our nation.
Having and showing emotion is a natural thing for human beings, and the reason why this issue is it triggers so many emotions for so many people is because you have images of young kids, right, who are in cages because
but then,
I'm trying.
Germany, they used Lebensraum.
I understood. I'm talking about here in 2019.
And then you can support any policy like that.
Well, I'm just
by logic.
All I'm trying to do, brother, is make a point as to why there are emotions out there with respect to this issue. Okay, it's because they see kids in cages. It's because they see families getting separated.
Right.
It's because Kate Steinle, who got murdered in San Francisco. Let me finish my point. Let me finish.
I'm an American citizen.
Yeah, let me finish my point. And it's because people like Kate Steinle in San Francisco got killed by an illegal immigrant. Okay, and so families of people who were murdered by illegal immigrants are absolutely and positively, understandably emotional. That's the only point I was trying to make, my man. Is that is why there's emotion tied up into this issue.
But what I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong with our immigration process if you enforce the law.
Well, that's highly debatable. And look, there is an ideology on both sides, whether you want to talk left, right, progressive, middle, whatever, as to what our approach should be as a nation from an immigration standpoint. You hear Democrats a lot, right? They talk about how, look, I'm not for open borders, but I want to have common sense immigration reform, right?
And there's a difference.
But then you hear President Trump.
Make this one point, and that is everybody has to remember Mexico on our southern border is the soft underbelly of America. Right now, China is pivoting to South America. They're building bridges across the Panama Canal. They're investing billions of dollars. We are not able to keep up and maintain with that. So as their policies, these South American and Central American countries, as their policies start gravitating towards the Chinese, we're going to see more and more issues arise from this.
That could be possible, Marshall. I appreciate the call, and it is good to hear from you. The number to call, by the way, 257-5396 is the number to call, 257-5396. To me, it's very clear, and I started off the show explaining this, and I'll try to allude to it again. I am for border security. In a perfect world, I wish every single person coming into this country did it legally. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, there are certain circumstances with parents and children seeking asylum for their loved ones. They are in dire situations. That happens a lot, and I know some people want to make it seem like it's just a small percentage. Not true. There are plenty of people that are seeking asylum that are in dire straits, dire situations. We need to figure out a way to handle this issue without Donald Trump saying, sorry, this country is full, turn around and go home. That's not what this country was founded on. And that is the point that I am trying to make. In no way, shape, or form am I sitting here and saying our borders should be absolutely wide open. Let's let anybody come in. We don't care who you are. Chris, have I ever said that?
Absolutely not. And look, it's a fluid situation. When you listen to President Trump or people that are on the hard right of his administration, a.k.a. Stephen Miller, it's about, we don't want these people here. that's kind of the approach that they take. For me, there's so many aspects to this because you're dealing with student visas, you're dealing with, people that, in one way or another either have work visas, try to come here for a job. Like, it's not just cut and dry, we'll let these people in, or we'll let these people in, and we're out of room, so we can't let anybody in. It's not that simple, right? We have so many things you have to deal with here, and a lot of that stuff comes into play when it comes to student visas. Because look, you got students coming from other countries that go to college here. Okay, and so if you're going to say, you can't come in to the southern, nobody's coming in to the southern border. What does that mean for students who are trying to come back to school?
Exactly.
That's just one example, though.
Let's take one more call before we go to break, Chris, and I agree with you. 257-5396. Go to Randall. Randall, I got about a minute for you. What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Just like to weigh in.
Sure.
There's a situation here. You want to let people in, and I know we have a system. The problem is that we have so many people coming in that we can't handle it. And a wall isn't going to really solve the problem. It'll solve a couple things, a couple people, or lots of people like getting in. But if you build the wall, they're still going to just be funneled to the same ports of entry.
I agree.
And we don't have the resources to deal with all this. And the thing is, you can say yes, we should let most of them in. But the problem is, if we let them all in at the same time, what are we going to do with them? They're not all going to find jobs at the same time. They're going to be poor, desperate for money. And so where's the medium? What do you do?
Well, it's a good question, Randall, and I think the best thing for us to do would be because that's a loaded question. The best thing for us to do would be to answer that on the other side of the break. It's a good question, and I have some ideas. I know Chris does. I don't know if JD does because he's still involved in the basketball game, but we'll ask JD anyway when we come back. Don't worry, JD. We're going to be talking a little basketball about this championship game with about 4 minutes to go or so, and it's a great game, 25-24, Texas Tech by 1 with about 4 minutes to go in the first half, early in that one. So we'll get to your calls when we come back, and I'll answer that question, which was a good one by Randall, when we come back at 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDWN.
Guys, look, as we get older, most of us will have problems with our male performance. This causes stress in our relationships. You may even feel that you'll never have a healthy love life again. Well, now Universal Men's Clinic helps men suffering from erectile dysfunction.
I'm Dr. Charles Arakaki. Universal Men's Clinic specializes in using modern medicine and a sophisticated monitoring system to help men suffering from ED or low testosterone. The professional staff is specially trained, discreet, and confidential. They are dedicated to helping you find the right medication for your sexual health needs and have helped men with sexual function issues, even those who have not been able to perform in years.
Book an appointment today, and your office visit will be free. We're open Monday through Friday and Saturdays. Call Universal Men's Clinic at 702-430-6994. That's 702-430-6994. Or visit universalmensclinic.com.
In business, every dollar is as important as the first. Get more bang for your buck by upgrading to WaterSmart Landscaping as well as water-efficient fixtures today. Receive an increased cash rebate and a healthy ROI through water savings. Learn more or apply at snwa.com.
Attention. If you're in debt to the IRS and frustrated with your options, for a limited time you can call and quickly check your eligibility for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problem. Through this special toll-free hotline number, you can find out in minutes if you qualify for these powerful new debt reduction programs green-lighted by the IRS for 2019. If you have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or just want to know your options, business or personal, Republic Tax Relief's A-plus rated tax relief system has helped thousands stop IRS collections immediately and saved millions in tax debt. These relief programs will not last forever. Call the hotline number now, 800-943-1253. That's 800-943-1253. Check your eligibility for tax debt savings today. Call 800-943-1253. That's 800-943-1253.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM 720 AM KDWN.
Are you a stock or options trader looking for real trading strategies that you can use immediately? Hi, my name is Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, and I'm on a mission to become the #1 options coach in America. I'm a former vice president at Goldman Sachs. I have over 25 years of options trading experience, and right now I'm giving away my most famous options guide with over 20 unique options strategies that I use every day for free. You can't buy this guide anywhere. To claim your free options trading guide, simply call 855-844-9702 now and mention my name, Scott Bauer, and we will rush you the guide. Call 855-844-9702 and someone from my options team will help you get this guide in your inbox as quickly as possible. Call 855-844-9702 now and start learning to...
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. Chris Winn in studio. We also have the national championship game being played right now, deadlocked at 29 with under a minute to go in the first half. Texas Tech and Virginia. We will make sure to keep you updated on that. Of course, we're talking about Donald Trump and separation of families. What do you guys think about this policy? Chris, we had a caller that called in and posed a question to us, so why don't you take it?
Yeah, basically what he was proposing was a general policy issue with respect to the border and how we should deal with it as far as flow, right? As far as, how do we determine how many people we let in, what is our actual capacity, what is our, not capacity for the nation, but, what is our capabilities as a country to be able to bring people in. And also it was about the border and aspects of having, a solid mortar border. And this is something that has been litigated for the past year and a half, right? Where, it's been determined now through, not just Democrats, by the way. I mean, there's people on the Republican side of things that, for fiscal reasons, for other reasons, as far as politics is concerned, they did not want to build a, $7-8 billion wall. And so the president needed to initiate a state of emergency to have an opportunity to get the funding for it, and yet it's still in limbo. It's still in the courts. So for the fact of the matter is this, though, is that the majority of this country, the majority of this nation does not feel that we need to build some type of Great Wall of China on the southern border. So as far as when it comes to policies and stuff like that, as to whether or not, how many people we let in, what we should change as far as how we handle things immigration-wise, absolutely up for debate. And lawmakers will continue to have dialogue on this, and we'll debate it. But as far as the wall is concerned, as of right now, there is no wall. Okay, we're not building a wall on the southern border, and there's been no money allocated to build a wall. So we can pretty much get past that.
Number to call if you want to be a part of the discussion, 257-5396. Again, 257-5396 is the number to call. JD, you had something you wanted to add?
I think you have to decide what you're going to build, understand your port of entries, how many there are, and then create kind of a tiered system based on the ideal ecosystem for the country.
Something needs to happen on both sides.
But there needs to be an understanding of how many of how many of these immigrants, legal or illegal, can actually be accepted and vetted and processed through successfully without damaging something else in the United States.
But the problem with Donald Trump and many in his administration is he's not willing to negotiate. We call him the great, well, I don't call him this, but a lot of people who are Trump supporters call him the great negotiator. He is not willing to go across the aisle and compromise.
But that's part of what he's doing is he's being so far one direction that eventually he will compromise, but it'll still be in his favor.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Shap, but what JD just described to me is common sense immigration reform, right? It's ways to address the border.
That's just standard world. That's just balance.
Exactly.
That's just
it's called common sense,
right?
Yeah.
Do you
so
think Donald Trump, with much of his policy making and the things he says on a regular basis, do you think he shows, for lack of a better term, common sense? You guys think so?
I have a question for JD, and for a lot of the listeners out there and the callers that are dialing up right now that are Trump supporters and supported him, much like JD did because of policies that will be in place, particularly economically. JD, the question goes to you directly. Do you think Donald Trump is a great businessman?
I think he's an outstanding businessman, yes.
Okay, this is the question I also pose as well, too. If he's such a great businessman, okay, and there's no question he's done a tremendous job when it comes to name branding and promoting his name and as far as the television personality, there's no question about it. Okay, he's been solid. But my question to you is this also: if he's such a great businessman, how come there aren't businessmen that are worth their salt coming out of the woodwork, JD, and saying, you know what, Donald Trump's our guy. This Donald Trump, when it comes to business, We need to be following his examples. We need to be, he is the Pied Piper when it comes to the business community. And I'm not talking about Steve Mnuchin, who's in his administration. I'm not talking about guys like that. I'm talking about legit business moguls in the country.
Okay. Are you talking about guys like Steve Winn, Sheldon Adelson, people who committed a lot of money to his campaign?
Last time I checked, has Steve Winn or Sheldon Adelson came out and said Donald Trump is this business savant and is like the guy? Like, do they support him? Do they support him because he supports GOP
there have
policies?
been
Absolutely.
some prominent billionaires that have supported Donald Trump for this reason and this reason alone, because they enjoy their tax breaks.
Right.
I think that's the reason. Let's take some phone calls at 257-5396. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Wilfrey, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Wilfrey, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Well, thank you very much for thanking me. I'm fine. How about you, gentlemen?
Doing good. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Wilfrey/Bob.
That's right. Or Jesus, I guess tonight might work.
What's on your mind?
Well, here's what I would suggest that he needs to do. He needs to declare a national state of emergency. He needs to declare all policies, comments, and positions on the border to be no longer applicable, and to put everything on the top of the table. He needs to put the military into a status of alert. He needs to check with all the militias so we don't start shooting each other. And he needs we need to sit down and settle out what the hell is happening in this country, because right now we're in a confrontation head to a conflict. We're nearly a lawless land, and the last thing we need now is an invasion by a bunch of people wanting to come here to take jobs and get away from their killer despot leaders.
Okay, I disagree with that premise. Well, you said a lot of things in there, and hang on the line, Wilfrey. First of all, I do not consider this an invasion. A lot of people want to compare it to, somebody invading your house. I do not see it that way. A lot of these people are working jobs that a lot of maybe you or I would probably not want to do. Okay, they mow your lawns, they make your food. They're, whatever the case may be.
Easy now, because I've had this discussion with their intellectuals. If you paid my American 100 times what he paid, he would sit in the dirt and do that work.
Okay, so you think you could find Americans that would work for $5 an hour and do yard work for you? Are you serious?
They work for 100 times what they get in Mexico, and these people can't even own a gun. If you've not been in the jungle...
No, but you're not answering my question. You're telling me there are many Americans that would do the jobs that some of these people are doing. Is that what you mean to tell me?
I'm telling you that these jobs traditionally were held by children and the unemployed, and what they did was they evolved themselves in the community to higher wages. Now these people are coming in, they're taking sectors of jobs we've never
All right,
seen
let's let
before.
Chris respond. Go ahead, Chris.
You made a couple incorrect points as well, too. First of all, you said he needs to declare a state of emergency. If I'm not correct, he already has, right? He declared a state of emergency.
I'm talking big time. Not...
Well, why hasn't it taken place? Why hasn't the president declared a state of emergency? He's gotten money and started building the wall. Why hasn't it happened? I'll tell you why it's happened. Let me finish, okay? I'll tell you why it's happened, because it's been caught up in the courts. There have been federal judges throughout multiple states who have basically filed injunctions and not allowed him to do that. Also, it's tied up in D.C. because there are Republicans. There are people in his own party that are not down with this process of going around Congress to get money. So the reason why the state of emergency hasn't taken really effect or had an influence is because, politicians and lawmakers in Washington, D.C. are, as well as judges in the United States, have not allowed it to. So that you have to start out there.
He said some things that I think are very, very incorrect. I'll be nice today, okay? I'm in a better mood in the second hour than I was in the first hour because I got the over in this basketball game, and I'm actually looking okay now. That's why I was a little edgy in the first hour. The life of a degenerate gambler. 257-5396, the number to call. I finally got JD's attention with that. He concurs, I believe. 257-5396. Let's go to Jed. Jed, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Sitting here listening to what y'all saying. And this jazz about there's no border being built. All you got to do is go online. They're building border. They've been building border wall for a while now.
They've been replacing. They haven't been building border wall.
People standing on the Mexican border.
Okay, they haven't been
looking at the border being built.
Okay, but they haven't built border wall. They have been making replacements and improvements.
No. Yes, they are building border
Where?
wall. You're getting
Where?
some incorrect information.
Where? Please tell me. I'd love to know.
Look. Bottom line is this. We do got to clean up the borders a little bit because you guys love kids, right? Just like I do.
No, I hate kids, actually. I want them in cages. I think that's where they belong. Yeah. No, I hate kids.
Okay.
I want to do exactly what Donald Trump. No,
you
wanted to blow. Hey, by the way, you wanted to blow by that point, saying that the border's already being built. Let me tell you something. It's not. Okay. There's not a wall on the border being built with Trump's name on it. Okay. That he got money from Congress or he got money from the country to build. All right. There's been reinforcements. Well, you wanted to slide by the point and try to jump back onto do we like kids or not? I'm just trying to point out that you're saying something that's categorically false.
No. They are building walls.
No, they're not. It's reinforcements. It's restructuring what is already down there. There's nothing.
You want to call it? Listen to me, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. I'm not calling it. It's not.
Cleaning up the border wall.
It's not Donald Trump's wall, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? They're cleaning up the border, right?
Okay, well, cleaning it up and saying that they're building a new wall.
They have brooms.
Can I talk? I listen to you guys, and I don't say shit.
You asked a question. You asked me a question. Are they cleaning the border?
Now you're off the radio because you can't say that on the radio.
He asked a question, and then now he's trying to say you're not going to let him talk.
Hey,
you asked us, are they cleaning up the border? Yes. Are they taking brooms like they're cleaning out the forest so there's no fires in the forest?
Jed, here's an idiot alert, okay? When you call into a radio show, you're not allowed to swear, okay? Jed. Great name, by the way, Jed. Wasn't that the same name in Pulp Fiction? Jed? Was that Jed in that scene with the motorcycle? Oh, it was Zed. I'm sorry. Yeah, Johnny. Johnny's a movie connoisseur.
That was definitely Zed.
It was Zed. Okay, well, Jed and Zed. Yeah. Jed, next time you call into a show, you can't swear, okay? You are an idiot, all right? And by the way, as far as the border wall is concerned, they're not making a Donald Trump new wall, okay? Yeah. They're replacing certain things. We try to give facts, and when you start to call into a show and say something that is factually inaccurate, we are going to interrupt you whether you like it or not. Do you understand? Am I making any sense to you? Okay? As one of the callers that called in the first hour said, do you understand English? I think many of the people crossing the border probably understand English a lot better than you do. 257-5396, the number to call, 702-257-5396. They are not building a Trump wall. That is a fact. Even though Donald Trump and some of his cronies want you to believe that. Trump will show up at the wall in California, as he did several days ago, making it like, oh, I did this. He has done nothing so far. Nothing that they have done at the wall has anything to do with any of Donald Trump's policies. For you bozos out there that want to call in and sound like Jed or Zed or whatever the hell his name is. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Steve. Steve, thanks for calling in. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing all right, Steve. Fired up. What's on your mind?
Hey, listen. You just said that they're taking jobs that are paying $5 an hour to mow lawns and stuff like that.
Some of them, yeah.
I'm going to tell you firsthand experience. I own a business here in town, and I go to all these places in town where these guys stand in front of the stores all day, and these people are refusing $15 an hour to work.
You're telling me that an illegal immigrant...
That's not very smart, is it? That's kind of idiotic.
Listen, I know I'm at these places every day, and I ask them, hey, you want to do this? You want to do that? And they say no to $15.
Can you do me a favor, Steve?
Why would they do that?
Steve, I need you to do me a favor, and I'm going to take you for your word, okay? If they're doing that, they're morons, okay? But let me ask you a favor, Steve, okay? Since you're a listener of the show... I believe what you're saying. Next time you talk to these people, here's what I want you to do. If you can do this for me, get one of their names and numbers. I would love to talk to one of these people that is refusing $15 an hour, and I would love to call them an idiot on the show, because if you are illegal and you are in this country and you refuse to work for $15 an hour, I don't care if you're cleaning my toilet, which would be a very bad beat. I don't care, or cleaning or doing my laundry, which will also be a bad beat. But I'm being serious, Steve. I would love one of these names and numbers, one of these people. I would love them to come on the show. Just give their first name. I don't need their last name or their social security number, any of that stuff. I would love to talk to them, because I find that hard to believe. I really do. I can't believe it.
No, I'm telling you, I'm there every single day. And just to move rocks, stuff like that, I tell them, hey, $15 an hour, and they laugh. They want $20 to $30 an hour to do work, and I'm not even kidding.
Well, so they're like, you have undocumented immigrants at these places, like they're trying to negotiate with you to make more money. What are they holding out for? They trying to hold out for like a union gig down at Bill Raiders Stadium down on the 15. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they? They're in a tough spot.
Well, I deal with it every day. I swear to God, it's unbelievable.
For the record, my co-host J.D. Sharp will mow your lawn for $10 an hour. He told me that before the show. He's looking for work.
I'll only hire him if he's a legal, documented citizen.
He is, actually.
I do have an ID.
Well, Steve, can you do that for me next time you talk to these people? Can you help us out?
These people aren't going to come down and talk to you on the radio.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tell them I'll pay them $25 an hour to come on the show. I will pay one of these people $25 out of my own pocket to do 30 minutes and come in studio, and I will ask them face to face, why on earth are you refusing $15 an hour?
Yeah, we're a sanctuary radio station. They'll be fine. Yeah, nothing's going to happen to them.
KDWN is a sanctuary radio station.
Yes,
that's true. Yeah,
it'll be fine.
All right, Steve.
If I can get one of these suckers to do it, I'll do it.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you.
These suckers.
I've never had that experience myself. I've hired illegals. I've paid them to help me with yard work back in the day. Okay, I have done that.
When we moved houses, my last movement 2.5-3 years ago, we went down and rolled down and we got some help to move our house and move all the stuff, all our furniture, everything.
You said your last movement. I don't want to hear the details on that.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I'm just.
You know what I want to see though? I want to see JD on his Forrest Gump, motorized lawnmower. That's what I want to see.
I would like to see that. Yeah. JD, for the record, he'll do it for $10 an hour and he'll take his shirt off. I think that's a really good deal. He's a young, strapping, nice-looking man. So anyone out there, JD's available. 257-5396-70, and he'll give you picks, sports picks too. So that's a pretty good deal. 257-5396. Let's go to Tony. Tony, thanks for calling in. How are you, Tony?
I'm great, man. Great show.
Thank you.
Real quick though, he is right on the most of these people will not take that 15 or even more an hour. The reason why is that they know they get tortured for 2 hours to get $30 or 3 hours to get 45. Pumping concrete or rock mostly, and they want to get they want to make 100 or 150 for the day.
Well, we're assuming what that gentleman said is the truth. Here's the problem with that call, Tony, and you could tell me whether you disagree or not. He just called in and he spoke to several people, I'm going to assume. Okay, there are thousands and thousands of illegals in this state, or in this city for that matter, that are willing to work, okay? I find it hard to believe that there'd be more than 10% of those people that wouldn't accept $15 an hour.
Here's my question. So I know an iron worker who makes $40 an hour and double to basically half that in overtime. Why not enter the country legally, try to get involved, learn a trade, get involved with a union, and make that type of money for basically the same work?
Because
best case scenario. Yeah. That's the best case scenario right there. Yes. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is,
a lot of them are laborers and in the out here working at that union rate for these big companies. But as far as these guys at the Star Nurseries and places like that,
right?
They want 7-8 hours worth of work. Because I've hired them before, and I just tell them flat out, listen, here's 6 tons of rock. I don't care if it takes you 10 minutes, $100. You can move it in 2 hours. That's fine. They'll do it like that, but they don't want that $15 because they know that they're going to get killed for 2 hours.
Are you okay with that, Tony?
What's that?
Are you with what they do? Giving them $100, you would rather do that and say, look, this is the work I need done, however long it takes you to do it. I don't care.
I had a guy when I was getting rid of one house and moving into my other one. Yeah, it was a guy at Santos. He was the best, and I tell him, I don't care how long it takes you. I'm going to buy you lunch.
No, Tony, what do you say when? I mean, do you say that you just assume the risk if you get her? How do you handle that? Because these people don't have insurance. How do you handle that?
What do you mean insurance for what?
For
he gets hurt?
Yes.
I'll drag him down the street and tell him to take a hike. That's his problem.
Well, I guess okay. So let me ask you another question, Tony.
The nature of the beast. Yeah, it is. Let me ask. Not necessarily insurance isn't one of those top prospects there.
Do you think that if we clamped on the borders and did what Donald Trump wants us all to do, just get rid of all these illegals that are in this country, no pathway to citizenship, would you have a problem with that, or are you okay with it?
No, they got to do like everybody else. They got to wait their turn. But the border's out of control. Look, I'm on the Trump side of it. I get it, and I know you're not. But it is what it is. I mean, look at all the Hispanics, all the Mexicans that want in. I mean, they've been trying to get in for years. So why should these guys get a pass through because they're selling kids under fences or however the heck is going on?
All right. Fair enough, Tony. I appreciate the call.
I want to know who you got in the Masters. Hell with all that stuff.
The Masters? Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Tony. I was going to hang up on you, but you just sparked my interest.
No.
As far as
I hit the Masters.
Okay,
not
good.
Tiger Woods.
I got him at 18-1. I have to say that.
Mr. Puma, okay, as I like to call him.
Mr. Puma has
And I would say, well, that's one of my picks. I also like Patrick Cantley, a guy who won here 2 years ago. I think he's a guy that's next in line to win a major. And I also like Mr. Puma against Tiger Woods. I think that's a good matchup. Yes, I like the matchup there. And I'm also going to take a chance at Phil Mickelson at plus 140 versus Bubba Watson. What do you think about that?
Yes.
All right.
I think Bubba's on his way.
Tony, we're going to have the golf guru, Dennis Silvers, joining us on Wednesday to give us more matchup and more of his picks. So please stay tuned for that, and I appreciate the call. Good call, my friend. Thank you.
I got Surfer Charlie. I'm going with him 100-1.
Charlie Hoffman?
Surfer Charlie, yes.
All right.
I like it.
Hey, local guy. We're going to root for Charlie. He's a good dude. Thank you for the call, Tony. Thank you. Charlie Hoffman is a great guy. He does a lot for charity, and he's been in contention in the Masters before.
And both Charlie and Ryan Moore were in contention this week in the Valero Texas Open down there.
When Charlie's playing well, he will be in contention in a major. Whether he's going to win or not, he has not proven that yet. So I would not put any money on him, but I hope our friend wins. 257-5396. Let's go to Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing good, Scott. What's on your mind?
Well, the first thing you know, Jed's a millionaire. The kin folks said, Jed, move away from there. Said Mexicali is the place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to the port of entry.
That's solid right there. See, you're
very nicely done.
These guys,
Scott,
I'm going to date myself because I know the reference, but I guarantee you, Brian Shapiro and JD have no idea what you're doing.
I have friends over at CAA in L.A., and I'd like to get you signed. You have the voice of an angel.
One of the best TV shows of all time, baby.
You're a brilliant lyricist.
I love it.
All right.
Thank you, Scott, for serenading us.
So there's one Jed.
Scott, that was a
in
little too
popular
good.
culture. That's one Jed.
See, I did tell you that there is a Jed out there.
Oh, there
that's
is.
the only one I can think of is Jed Clampett.
Yep.
Fair enough, Scott. Okay,
I was thinking Jed Buechler.
So, Scott, what do you think of this situation with the border wall? Give us your take.
Well, I was down there and spoke with some Border Patrol, and they walk away from the port of entry. They go have coffee, cigarettes, away from all that, and they said their hands are tied because just don't go by me. Don't listen to me. I'm just going by what I was told by Border Patrol. These people come up here with kids. They have no proof that these kids are even theirs. And they told me it's a mess. We don't know what to do. They said the kids are scared to death.
I believe that.
And they just said their hands are tied because most of the people come up and the kids aren't even theirs. They don't have paperwork to prove it.
Right. Well, I think in this aspect, Scott, you said it, that the kids are scared, and I think that those are the first human beings that we have to think about first. How do we make it a better situation for these kids, even if the adults are, like you said, even if these aren't the parents of some of these kids, we have to figure out a way to take care of these kids and not put them in a cage for 20 days. And regardless of what the parents or not their parents, regardless of what they do, that it's a humanitarian issue. And Democrats and Republicans need to get together and come up with some sort of pathway to citizenship and help these kids. I understand it's going to be at taxpayers' expense. I understand that. But we are the United States of America. We are better than this. Now, with that being said, again, I am for border security. We need to know who these people are that are coming into this country. We don't want one bad person coming into this country in a perfect world. Unfortunately, there are bad people out there. But Scott, it is good to hear from you. I appreciate that serenade very much so, and I'm going to maybe use that on one of my dates in the future if I do get one. What do you think about that, guys?
You have a lot of ways that you like to express yourself on dates. I'm sure that could be one of them. That would be very fruitful for you.
I think that maybe 1 in every 9 of your dates would actually understand that.
Well, 1 of every 9 of my dates understand me. So I would actually say 1 out of 50.
And why is that?
I got to ask the question of you guys, though. Have you seen the Beverly Hillbillies? Are you guys aware of the show?
I have. Yeah, I am aware of the show.
Yeah,
I know
like it.
Don't like it, but I am aware of it. Not one of my favorite shows. I'll say that. I'll put that next to the Kardashians. Not a show that I watch on a regular basis.
Honest question, Brian. How many of your dates on percentage speak very, very clear, clean-cut English?
I'd say probably half, maybe half. I'm going to go about 50%. I don't know what you're alluding to there. Well, I think I know what you're alluding to, but
you know exactly what he's alluding to.
I like exotic women.
Yes.
What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with liking exotic women. I don't ask for their green cards. No, that's not true. I don't know.
I'm not picturing you with, let's put it this way, a Tommy Lauren or like a Meghan McCain. Okay,
Tommy Lauren or Meghan McCain was on The View today, and Joey Behar, right? Is that her name?
Yes.
Joey Behar says, "Wait, can you let me finish talking? I listened to you." And then McCain goes, "It's your job to listen to me." She's such a brat. Really, she's such a brat. The only reason why she's on that show is because of her last name, because her father was a hero. She has done nothing in her life as far as I am concerned.
A big reason she's on that show is she's on the right. Okay, let's make that
She's
clear.
on the right. Her father's John McCain. If her father wasn't John McCain, she wouldn't be on The View. If her father wasn't John McCain, nobody would know who she is. Okay, that is my problem with giving somebody like that a position. Okay, I disagree with her politics, but because Donald Trump goes after her father, that's the only reason why she doesn't like Donald Trump. It's got nothing to do with his policies.
Well, it also looks like Trump has basically made her relevant.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Which he does for a lot of people.
Keep on bringing up John McCain. I'll tell you what else is relevant this finals in the NCAA tournament. We'll get to that when we come back. Virginia taking on Texas Tech. I'll tell you why I think Virginia was not deserving even to be in this game tonight. We'll get to that and much more. Chris Winn in studio along with J.D. Sharp. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.